What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Fourth and 15 with Mel and Smooth. I am Mel, and joining me as always is Ronnie, Big Smooth Hennigan. Smooth, what's happening, man?
Not a whole lot, brother. Another weekend down, dreading them Mondays, man. What about you?
Man, I feel you. I feel you. And plus, I just got done watching the end of the Crunch game, and that Chicago is a good team. Chicago is a very good team, but Crunch fought back, tied it up, threw it in the extra time. Unfortunately, I think it was Gonzalez or whoever it was for Chicago got found the back of the net. 9-8 was the
Mm.
final score. But the Indians swept the Tigers, so I'll take that.
Oh yeah, especially man, because they've been off to a really rough start, and then spring training wasn't looking that great either. So I'm glad they got a sweep too, man.
Right. Um, so speaking of trends, I noticed that we all have on the colors red and black in some form or fashion. So with that being said, our guest for tonight is former Shaw High School alumni in East Cleveland, Ohio, former Akron Zip. I'm sorry, coach. I hate Akron. But nonetheless, this man is dear to my heart. He's a guy I respect, a guy I love. I've played under this man. I've coached alongside this man. So for everybody watching at home, we'd like to welcome Rod the Hammer Williams. Coach, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on?
And we got some technical difficulties, but in yeah, coach, yeah, you got a little lag there. All right. Well, while we check on his technical situation, I did want to bring this up. Uh, it's not really big news, but it's kind of surprising seeing who's part of it.
Hmm.
Um, the the Minnesota Timberwolves will be up for sale, and part of the ownership group buying the Minnesota Timberwolves is uh, A Rod, Alex Rodriguez. So, um, from what I'm told, from what I've discovered, I won't say I was told, but from what I've discovered, that the total payout is going to be around the range of 1.6 or 7 billion, and they would take total control of the team by 2023. I find this very interesting that A Rod would be part of something basketball related instead of baseball related. But then
True.
again, this is nothing new, as we've seen. Patrick Mahomes bought ownership into the Kansas City Royals. LeBron just bought a WNBA team. I believe it's the Atlanta team, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
So this isn't surprising, but it is shocking because I was not expecting this, especially from A Rod.
I'm with that, man. Because my thing is with him, I know he's been trying to like dive into different type of business ventures and really making that money stretch. And it felt like he was really trying to do these things and do them like more aggressively before he got with J Lo, and then once they split up, I guess he got back on his grind. Because
Getting the
I remember, yeah, man. But I was like sitting there watching, like you got the shows you watch with your wife, whatever. So we were checking out Shark Tank. That's not my thing at all. That's her thing. And he was on there, as a shark for like most of this season, like last season, season before, something like that. And he likes to give back, likes to help out more so, Latino business owners, stuff like that, right?
right.
And he's been on there. So I said, okay, well, if he's doing that kind of stuff, he definitely trying to, get them pockets fatter and try to make his money stretch. But when I heard this, I was like, oh, okay, because like you said, you got LeBron in on something, and you got also Patrick Mahomes. So there's a trend going on where you have different players from different organizations, They're trying to get in on this type of thing. So I think it's cool that he's, going in with some other investors and trying to make this happen. With them having Carl Anthony Towns and some other talent that they have there to build around, I'm hoping that it is a good investment for him and that they do make a splash with this purchase. So I'm all for it, man. I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just, you know, it's A Rod. First off, let's throw that into perspective. Alex
Hmm.
Rodriguez, and you when you associate Alex with sports, it's generally baseball. It's not really basketball, football.
True.
We know he's big in the Latino community. He does a lot of charity work. He does a lot of work for the kids. So that's
Hmm.
nothing new. But what was new about it was the fact that it's basketball. You don't hear him get anything related with basketball.
Right.
So I don't think this is a bad move personally. I just was surprised to hear that he was going to be part of that ownership group, and I'm excited for one. Two, I'm kind of disappointed because I hoped it would be baseball related. Like maybe he, for whatever reason, maybe he would take a step and buy into the Indians and help them out. But
Yeah,
unfortunately,
that'd be man. And you know what? Now that you said that, I wonder what made him choose an NBA team in general. Only because looking at like the logistics, okay, you got Minnesota, and then let's say you have all these other teams that may be up for sale or you guys thinking about selling, and just the different markets as well. Because a market like Minnesota versus a market like a New York or LA, maybe the purchasing price would have been too great. And then also with the different rules they have set up, how in baseball you used to have no cap, and then you
right.
have like a certain cap in the NFL and the NBA. Which one do you gain the most out of? Which one ends up costing you more, stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure he may have looked into that kind of stuff, but I was okay. NBA a little different. To your point, I thought maybe he would buy more into the MLB franchise, but would it be in Minnesota? I'm like Minnesota. What drew you
And
to Minnesota?
I think that was the thing that I think that's what it was for me. Like I think that it was a of all places, why Minnesota? I thought I was
Hmm.
with that too. And I'm with you. I really feel like, all places, why Minnesota? But then again, what difference does it make? Because here, this would be a situation where it's not expected, number one.
Hmm.
Number two, you can do a lot in the area where, maybe maybe we're looking at a smaller picture. Maybe he does at some point, you know, 2023 is right around the corner. Let's just call it what it is. And
True.
we're almost halfway through 2021. So 2023 financially will be here around the corner. What if, just a thought, but what if he's branching out to basketball to move back to the baseball? Because the Twins are right downtown with the T Wolves.
That's true. That is very true. And the Twins have always been like that team who will be right there, in the fight. Some seasons they're way better. Some seasons they're like kind of, toward the bottom of the division, but they're never out of it. So I
Right.
think that's pretty smooth. I can see that happening, man. Now that you say that,
Yeah. All right, Coach, we got you back. How you doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Just relaxing.
I understand it.
Yep.
So, while we got you on, take us through humble beginnings, life growing up. How did you get into football? No, because you know the Bob Costas question is coming, but we gotta get the folks at home what they looking for. So give us the insight into Coach Rod.
I first started out playing with these Cleveland back in the late '60s, and then from there I skipped past Kirk and went to play for Shaw versus. Then I went to the Marine Corps, played there.
mm,
We're getting another lag.
Hmm.
We apologize, folks. This weather is killing us. We do apologize for that.
Can't.
Um, oh, yeah, this weather this is killing us. Can you hear anything over there, Ronnie?
Nothing at
Okay.
all, man.
All right. Well, when we'll get him back, but in the meantime, we will continue forward, and what we will try to do is catch you guys up on what's happening in the world of sports. So right about now, NCAA football. There's been a shakeup in the SWAC, and
Ooh.
it's been a big one. It's a big one. Jackson State has lost three in a row. They lost yesterday to conference rival Alabama A&M 52-35, and Coach Prime is now 3-3 overall, 2-2 in conference play, and I'm wondering what. Okay, I gotta put this into perspective. When
Hmm.
Coach Prime took the job, he said, "I got some horses coming, so you better get me now." I knew what he meant by that, but I thought, he was gonna be with the team that he already had. I thought he was gonna have at least an idea of where he wanted to take the program.
Yeah.
Got wins over Grambling. Uh, you pretty much ran the first part of the gauntlet of your schedule, and you dropped the Southern. You
Hmm.
beat Mississippi Valley State, and then you go into Alabama A&M, or Alabama A&M comes to you rather, and they just demolished. Like they never let go of the lead. Watching that game, and it's kind of, and I can't say this is, this wasn't coming because we all knew it was coming,
Right.
but uh, it's more of a how do you, because most coaches, would be intimidated by Deion Sanders, you know, coming in as a coach and saying, I got people coming, you better get me now. And coaches have been listening.
True.
And one of those coaches, and ironically, uh, the coach that beat him yesterday was another football great in his own right, in Connell Maynor. For those who don't know, Connell Maynor was the first African American player, an African American quarterback to win the Arena Bowl with the Orlando Predators. So, Coach Maynor's been around, coached at Hampton, I believe, so he knows black college football. Is the surprise factor from what you've seen,
Hmm.
is the surprise factor gone out of the SWAC, or is this just you know, a one-off, we got a couple games.
You know, I think it's more of a one-off. I feel like it's one of the situations where the I guess how do you put it? So like the excitement or the feeling of trying to I guess anticipate what they're going to get based off of what Dion may have said or the spark that they had at the beginning. I feel like that's still there. I feel like this is still good for the SWAC. I feel like there's going to be more and more of this happening. And just with the other signing that we haven't mentioned yet, I feel like there's more of that to come. So I'm not sure how many more will jump on board or how many other players may consider coming into the fold and being, on coaching staffs or leading a team. But it's just great for, the SWAC. It's great for HBCUs in general to have those type of players of the caliber, even Hall of Fame level, to be able to come in and say, hey, I'm trying to be a part of this movement. I want to be able to, help to promote these schools or to boost the, feeling in the media and stuff like that. Because when you got guys like Dion, or how we, are about to probably jump into like Eddie George and talking about that. When you got guys like that that are at the forefront of this, those are people that people, those are guys that people know. They're big household names. You know, even guys that like them haven't played, let's say, in 15 years or 20 years or 10 years removed, whatever, they're still going to be talked about. It's not somebody you ever going to forget. You're always going to be
Right.
excited about talking about them or even running into them. You know, it won't be like, oh, so and so from like 50 years ago, whatever. It's gonna be like, no, that was the man. Like that was the dude. You know what I mean? You always had that feeling, and that's what guys like this bring to the SWAC or just to HBCUs in general when it comes to the football program. So it makes me think like, okay, Dion's in there. He's 6 games in. You know, you got Eddie about to pop one. Who else could be in the mix? You know what I mean? Because this isn't the end of it. I don't think it's the end of it.
It's not. And that's the killer part about it. And I told you, and we had this talk, and you even, said some things as well. Uh it's coming. And with those two big names, because speaking of which, since you brought it up, Tennessee State University announced that they have hired Eddie George as the new head coach midway through the season. This is a great thing for Eddie. And not only is it a great thing for Eddie, he's around the area. If I'm not mistaken, he's either still in Tennessee or he's between Tennessee and Columbus a lot. So
Between, yep.
there is a plethora of Midwest players and Southern players that he has to pick from. This I didn't think this swing was coming as fast as it was, but I'm
hmm
happy at the same time. And this is awesome.
Yeah, I love it, man. I feel like with this happening, like you said, I think he is between both because I know his restaurant's still up here or whatever that he still runs. And then of course, you know, him signing that deal to be able to join them, I think it's going to be a huge impact. You said they were what, 2-4 right now, I
I
believe.
believe they're 2-6, 2-4, between two
Two
and
and
four and two
six.
and six.
Okay. Because yeah, with that man, I'm just like, all right, it just feels good to be able to see him get in there and be able to do those kind of things. I'm really excited to see what he does. And of course, they mentioned, okay, he may not have that experience, but just his, you know, presence or him being that draw, you know, to be there, I think that's the biggest difference in terms of like somebody like him versus someone else. I feel like the school needs that.
I was going to say the same thing, but here's the thing: why would you? Don't get me wrong. Before anybody fixes their face to say anything, Um, let's get this out the way. Coach Rod was having some technical difficulties, but we are going to bring him back on at a later date. We apologize for that. For those just tuned in, those that are watching, we just can't. It's bad weather day up here in Ohio, so we apologize. Moving forward,
hmm
I have nothing against any other HBCU candidate, any other coaching candidate, period. But if you're a struggling school, well, you're not even a struggling school. You're a great school with a struggling
True.
football program. You got a
Right.
great school, and your football program is struggling, especially in the HBCU, because call it what it is again, that's where most of your money is coming from. That's where most of all your revenue is coming from. It's either football or
hmm
basketball.
Yep.
Tennessee State was a struggling football program. They weren't the worst, but they were struggling. If you have a chance to pick a name out of a hat between Joe somebody and Eddie George, you have to make a big decision here because that could be the difference between bringing in 3 and 4 star recruits and bringing in 1 star leftover recruits. Nothing against that,
hmm
but we all know when D1 gets the picking, they get the picking. You're usually left with whatever's left.
Yep.
It's nobody's fault. That's just the way the business works. And I know people don't believe that it's a business, but it is.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure.
that's the way the business works when it comes to recruiting. Alabama, Ohio State, Miami, USC, they all get their pick. And then whatever's left over is either going D3, D2, or HBCU. Now, as you've seen with the movement that Coach Prime has took and taking a job at a school nobody probably wanted to take, he's
hmm
gotten a great recruiting class. I think he's got one of the top 2 or 3 in the SWAC between
Yep.
Grambling, Southern, and Jackson State for the fall season. Remind you, this is just the spring season. So imagine what the fall is going to look like, what this team is going to look like in the fall. Now Tennessee State has this exact same opportunity and hiring Eddie George for what could possibly be the turnaround that they need, and what recruits they can bring in from Columbus, from Pennsylvania, from Illinois, not just the South. Think of it like Eddie George has played all over this country. Think about what kind of influence he's had on young guys before he retired.
And see, that's the thing. You figure, especially if you're somebody who is, let's say, position-wise, down pat. I mean, you got a guy like this who we knew was crazy running the ball, right? If I'm a running back and I get a chance to receive tips from a guy on this stature as my coach, that's huge, And the thing is, like with him, you said he has a connect in Columbus, right? Because he's a former Ohio State Buckeye.
Right.
Of course, he has a connection to, Tennessee, being with
all-time great,
great, the Titans. You know what I mean? And then he's originally from Philly, so you got 3 states coverage, right? And that whole Ohio, Pennsylvania connection is crazy.
Right.
And then you have right beneath here, one more state jumping over Kentucky to Tennessee, obviously. Having that connect, I mean, there's a lot of talent in just those 3 states alone. And then him playing all over, and like you said, whoever he has connects with in the South or out West or Southwest, whatever, like it's going to be crazy, man. I'm really interested to see who plays with him.
Not to mention, there's a Titans running back right now that vouched for him and told everybody he turned his career around, in Derrick Henry.
Man.
As a mentor, not just giving advice, as a mentor. So if he did that. And here's the thing. This is what I want people to understand. Again, I'm not against, skipping over other candidates, but in a situation like this, you have to take that chance. Not because he's star power, but because he has that kind of influence. Not just being a player. Look at his influence. He mentored Derrick Henry, and he still hovers around the Titans organization. He mentors Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, former Heisman Trophy winner. Eddie George, former Heisman Trophy winner. His record of most rushing yards in a single game just got broken last season. Just got broken. That was 20-something years ago. 1995 against Illinois. That was 20-something years ago. And just imagine, he still hovers, from what you and I both know, he still hovers around Ohio State, which is why the running back situation in Ohio State is not looking bad at all. Former NFL player, Pro Bowler, all-time list. The list goes on and on. So why would you not take that chance, especially with the way things are going in the transfer portal?
Exactly.
It's another big thing. It's another big thing people need to realize, that transfer portal is getting bigger. And with it getting bigger, that transfer portal is showing you players that are not happy with where they are, they're going to leave. They're going to find a place that fits them, and they're going to make it work. They only get one shot at it. They only get one shot. You can only transfer one time, unless you're a GA, which is a graduate player. So if you're a graduate player, you have a second chance automatically, because you probably graduated early and you still got eligibility left that you can blow off. But if you hit that transfer portal and you haven't graduated, you only get one shot. So with that being said, the HBCUs, I honestly believe this, are going to benefit more from the transfer portal now that you see Dion in Jackson State and Eddie in Tennessee. I think that
Ooh,
transfer portal is going to look amazing. And just
you know
think
what,
about
Mel?
this. Go ahead.
I got something we can expand upon. Go ahead and finish that, man, because we're about to dive into this one. I
I,
got something
I was
for you.
just about. Only thing I was about to say after that was think about now with Eddie in Tennessee and Dion
Mm-hmm.
and Jackson, we keep hearing and we keep reading, and our sources keep telling us about the rumors about Ed Reed wanting to be part of the coaching staff in Miami. You see this? You see these headlines with Dion taking Jackson and Eddie taking Tennessee State. What makes you think Miami will not make a play for Ed Reed right now?
Mm-hmm.
Because
I
now
believe it.
I sent this to you the other day. I don't know if you read it or not, but former head coach Randy Shannon took a defensive analyst job at Florida State.
Dang, I did know that.
So yeah, he took the job. He took the job as a defensive analyst, and honestly, I believe that was the biggest mistake Miami ever did outside of tearing down the Orange Bowl because under Randy Shannon, that was not a bad Miami team. He just couldn't keep up with recruiting
Yep.
because they joined the ACC, number one. Number two, you know, it was a lot to do as far as hitting them with all them sanctions and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just a lot of BS that he had to deal with that wasn't his fault. But because he was the coach, he got the blunt of it. I don't think that was fair to him, but I'm glad he found a job in, Florida State, even though that doesn't look good for Miami, but what you gonna do?
True. Now, here's what I got. Two things. First thing is
Mm-hmm.
this. Since we on the subject about HBCUs, and
Mm-hmm.
because we know that Eddie George is taking over as the head coach of Tennessee State, and we
Right?
also mentioned that in the fall they'll have their season. Okay, so peep this out. For those of you that like special games, or for those of you that want more information on this, there is something called the annual Black College Football Hall of Fame Classic. It is
Mm.
returning to Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in 2021. And guess who is in
Nice.
that game?
Don't tell me it's
Grambling
Jackson
State
State, Tennessee.
University. It's
Oh,
Grambling State versus Tennessee State,
oh, we gotta cover that. Oh, baby, we gotta cover
bruh.
that. We,
Bruh.
bro, we down there.
Hall of Fame
We down there.
Stadium,
We
Grambling
down
State,
there.
and Tennessee State.
We down there.
Bruh. Got to do it. So I saw. I was like, okay. Here's another one for you. Here's another
We
one for you.
down there.
This, Mel, this just happened 15 minutes ago. I'm about to read it to you.
15.
You're gonna be like, what? 15. I'm about to read it to you right now. This
Let's
came
not. Let's
from
not.
NFL rumors because halftime they not wrong. It says former Titans player Eddie George reportedly wants to hire Hugh Jackson as offensive coordinator.
What the hell, man?
Hmm.
Don't play with me
What are
like
your
that.
What are your thoughts on that if that happens?
That's some bullshit. That's what I think.
Because Hugh is not a bad coordinator.
He's not, but with all the shit that he's doing because Cleveland let him go. Like
Hey,
he's writing a book, he's got a tour, he's got this
yeah.
don't blame me mess going on. Come on, man. Oh, you know what? All right, let me stop. I have to be professional. Now
Let's
I
take the
stay.
bias out for a sec, though. Just
Yeah,
speaking off of,
I'm gonna take the bias out. I'm gonna take the bias
because
out.
I feel you. I'm right there with you. I'm
I'm
not
gonna take
disagreeing at all.
I'm taking the bias
So,
out.
okay,
I'm taking it. Hear me out. Okay.
okay.
I must stay. Got it down. We're good. All right. This
All right.
might not be a bad move. It
Mm-hmm.
might not because Hugh Jackson does have NFL coaching experience.
Mm-hmm.
He has been a head coach twice with the Raiders and with the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
He is a very good offensive coordinator. He is, and at one time has been put up among the top coordinators in the league. So let's give him that. Let's give him that credit. He's supposed to be a quarterback whisperer. We'll give him that because that was a shitty situation in Cleveland. Let's call it what it is. It wasn't all his fault. It really wasn't. But at the same time, he should have had more wherewithal to know he was in a shitty situation. But I digress. If Eddie can pull this off, this might not be a bad move, and this might help with recruiting because now you have somebody to help you game plan, help you see where you went wrong as a coach during or before, during, or after a game. And in bad situations on the field, I'm not going to talk about off the field, but in bad situations on the field, he is and has been known to be a master of getting out of them. Let's look at the reality with Derek Carr. A lot of those times, he'd be down a receiver, he didn't have a running back. He had his time in Oakland, now Las Vegas, his time with the Raiders. He did not have a marquee running back per se.
Very true.
He didn't. And he still made it work. He still put the team in a respectable 8-8 and was playing for a top 2 finish in the division. So we know he's capable of making something out of nothing.
True.
On top of that, he has been known to work with quarterbacks very well. Derek Carr was one of the best quarterbacks under his tutelage. He had Carson Palmer for a while down in Cincinnati.
Yep.
And who's the other guy who's down in Cincinnati, man? Nobody cares, but still. He had Carson Palmer. He had A.J. McCarron. That's who it was. Yeah. Even though we have yet to see A.J. McCarron step foot on the field, it's still the reality that he is not a bad coach as people make him out to be, especially us in the media.
Right.
But with that being said, I think this, if, and this is just if Hugh agrees and signs the dotted line, this could be big, and this could spell trouble for whatever conference. I think they're in the MEAC. I'm not for certain.
You said Tennessee State?
Yeah. I believe they're in the MEAC.
Yeah, I can get you that right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the MEAC. Then again, I could be wrong. I have been wrong
Division 1. They're in the OVC.
Oh, okay, out of OVC. You know what?
And I got something else for you.
Hold up. You just said the OVC, right?
Mm-hmm.
This just gave me a what if, a very good what if. So Tennessee State's in the OVC. Not only are they in the OVC, you just signed Eddie George as your head coach. Hugh Jackson's on the bubble. What if they make a move for a bigger conference?
And that's the thing, because remember, only Tennessee State and Hampton are
D1.
not a part of the MEAC or SWAC, and they're D1. And that move could be there too. It could be in the making, and we just don't know. Speaking of which, he already named his defensive coordinator. So his defensive coordinator will be the son of Jeff Fisher.
Oh yeah,
longtime head coach.
You knew that was coming.
Jeff Fisher is going to be his advisor, advisory staff.
You knew that was coming. You knew
that's
that was
already
coming.
there. Hey man, got to give a brother a chance, right? Because the thing is, you figured his son, I believe Brandon is his name. Yeah, Brandon Fisher. He got his start as a volunteer assistant under Jeff, right? He also spent 2020 as a defensive analyst at Auburn, okay? And that's after him having a defensive coordinator position at Southern Utah the previous year. So you got to think like, okay, he's got a little bit of experience there, but this is his chance to have a really big break. And the fact that his dad is willing to team up with Eddie George to get this thing rolling and have Jeff Fisher teach Eddie George kind of things that he'll need to put a team together or a coaching staff first, I should say, and then a team. That's huge too because he was, most successful coach that the Oilers and the Titans had, and this is one of those things he can pass on. And now it's his coach for the entirety of his career while he was
Right.
there. So their relationship is there too. And to have someone like that in your corner advising you what to do with your first head coaching gig at this level, it's like sky's the limit, man. So we figure he already got a defensive coordinator. He has his former NFL coach as his advisor. And then you get somebody like Hugh to jump in there as an offensive coordinator. Man, and then for them being the OVC, like you said, they're D1. They could make a jump. You know what I mean? They could make a play like that.
Yeah, because I was looking at somebody's schedule the other day, and their 2021 fall schedule is looking crazy. I know, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Florida A&M. I think they have a game against Fort Valley State, Albany State coming up in the future rather.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking crazy, man. These HBCUs ain't playing no more, man. They tired. They tired of taking shit.
For sure,
y'all,
and
like I know it sounds funny. But think about it, people. Think about it. If HBCUs were able to get the same TV deals as the Power 5 conferences, meaning the Pac-12, Big Ten, Pac-10, Big Ten, ACC, SEC, Big 12, if they were able to get the same TV deals as those conferences, what do you think these conferences would look like? Not to mention, here's something people didn't realize about yesterday's Jackson State game. That game was on ESPN, the big ESPN, the first big, the big channel. It wasn't on ESPN2. It wasn't on ESPN Plus or ESPNU. It was on ESPN. So imagine if you saw this every Saturday. And I just saw a tweet on Twitter. I saw a tweet from a guy saying, I hope ESPN is paying attention, and I hope they don't. There's been some good football playing in the HBCUs, and I hope they're paying attention and they pay attention to this in the fall and keep it in mind for the fall. I retweeted that. And I said, please do, because if you're paying attention, you see some great football. Granted, it looks like a shootout, but hey, what did you expect? Everybody's been off. Alabama gave up 48. Alabama scored 52, give up 48. It's no difference.
Right, to a team that they should have pissed on. So
yeah.
I get, man, that's real. And then for those of you who are weird like me, thinking about geography and all of that, you hear of Ohio Valley. Just so you know, there are no Ohio teams in that conference. I just want to put that out there because I'm weird like that. For those of you that are wondering who's in it, of course, we just mentioned, Tennessee State. You got Jacksonville State, Tennessee Tech, Murray State, to name a few. Also, Morehead State's a part of them as well.
Well, you got to understand, we as Ohio, as a state, we don't have that many HBCUs with a football team. The only football team we have is Central State, and they're in the SEAC, which makes no sense to me at all because one, they're D2. So is most of the SEAC, which I understand, but the logistics of it, the travel is retarded. And my brother used to play at Albany State, which is how I know this. So for them to play in the SEAC instead of the OVC, or I would, if I had it my way, I'd actually put Central State in like the MEC, the Mountain East Conference, so they could at least see Notre Dame a couple times. But that's not my call. But as far as the Ohio HBCU situation, that's why you don't see that many Ohio HBCUs in a football conference, because there's only one, and that's Central State.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, man. But like, to your point, It does. It got my head running right now thinking about where they could jump to because like we've seen teams go from that conference to some of the other ones. Prime example, Coastal Carolina. Now they weren't in the OVC; they were in the Big South, and with the Big South and then leaving, they went on to the Sun Belt. And it's like, okay, well, you see these different moves happening, and I feel like to your point, Tennessee State could do that to jump out of the OVC and be like, all right, let's take on one of these other conferences and see where we land, right?
Hmm.
Maybe they do like the AAC or I don't know, something that's like a little, smaller right now, so they can kind of work up. You know what I mean?
Truth be told, I think HBCUs like to stick together, and that's nothing against anybody.
Yeah.
But with that, uh, it's a matter of what benefits them, and I don't think none of these HBCUs are going to make a move unless it benefits them because the money has to be there, the travel has to be there because as we all know, travel kills teams. Like if you look at it logistically, the University of Hawaii is the farthest team out in the Mountain West, and they have to
Hmm.
travel all the time, every other year at least, to Southern Cal, San
True.
Jose, Boise, all the way in
Yep.
Idaho. You know, travel kills them. And the thing that I think happened with Central State shutting down their program for real, was the fact that, you know, travel was killing them
Hmm.
because there's not a lot of HBCUs near Ohio. Everybody's down south, down south or Texas. Texas is its own country. So, you know, I think I think this time around, I think the HBCUs are going to stick together. They're going to join the conferences that make sense, like Florida A&M joining the SWAC made
Hmm.
sense because everybody's there. From Louisiana on over, the furthest they have to go is Louisiana. What's the harm in that?
True.
You know,
And
I this is gonna get real interesting in the fall, man.
speaking of which, man, we're talking about HBCUs. Did we already talk about in the past the movement of North Carolina A&T?
I believe we did over the audio
Because
shows.
they're going
I
to the
do
Big
think
South this year.
I don't like that move. I don't, but A&T has been rebuilding for at least 3 years now. So
Hmm. Because they'll join
it's
Hampton there, and they're doing everything.
Hampton. Hampton done fell off, man. Like Hampton ain't the
Yeah.
same Hampton that we grew up with,
No,
which
it's
is
not.
which is not it's not nobody's fault, man. You got to understand, people. We're not saying that it's anybody's fault. You just have to understand the logistics of college football and black college football. Even for us as players in high school when we were there, we
Hmm.
wanted to go to the big schools, the D1s. Didn't matter what D1, we just wanted to go.
Yep.
Now, along the way, players like me who were undersized and didn't have the recognition that say you or Kurt had, we didn't have that many D1 options. So D2, D3, and the HBCUs would come calling. Not that we want to go. Well, I take that back. I wanted to go to Grambling. If I couldn't go to Mount Union, I was going to Grambling. I don't even what nobody
Hmm.
said. But other players and young men don't think like that. They want to get somewhere that's going to get them to the league. Now, it hasn't happened as often, but there have been players who have gone from HBCUs to the league, and a good 95% of them are in the Hall of Fame.
Hmm.
Jerry Rice and
Absolutely.
A.S. Williams, Jerry Rice and A.S. Williams, Shannon Sharp. I could go on. Lynn Barney, because
Right.
I just saw a list of the top five HBCU corners of all time. Three of them were from
Hmm.
Grambling, believe it or not.
Yep. There's a lot of great names on there. Strahan, Michael Strahan. You know, it's
Willie Brown. Willie Brown. Shout out R.I.P. Willie
Walter
Brown.
Payton.
Yeah. I forgot
Like
about
it's
Sweetness. Jackson
crazy.
State, didn't he?
It's
Jackson State,
yeah,
right?
man. Yeah. Ain't
There you
nobody,
go.
bruh. It's crazy. It's crazy. That list is endless of people that you still talk about. People that I never got a chance to even watch, but we know we need to respect that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's crazy, man.
And
Um,
HBC.
but but I guess the overarching thing, folks, to realize is, there's a huge impact that players from these schools can bring. And we have mentioned that, okay, those top schools are going to have their pick, right? But at the same time, there are guys who may not be ranked like some of those players by whatever associations or however they're picking them that could definitely bang with, that will go to these
Mm-hmm.
schools, you know? And based off what you just said about Grambling, I wish I would have taken that opportunity myself because they had a program going on right before I graduated where they were like, okay, if you want to come here and you are, a football player or something else that you do, they were looking for guys that they could sponsor who were not just good players, but who also had a decent GPA. Because me coming out of Collinwood, I had like a 3.15 or something like that. And they wanted guys who had a 3.0 and up they could sponsor too to say, okay, we're not just bringing people in who can ball, we bring people in who will actually graduate as well too,
Right.
or could graduate if it don't work out. And that's something I should have jumped on because, a lady by the name of Corliss Fitch, rest her soul, told me about that when I was at church one day. And I kind of just brushed it off like, I'm trying to aim a little bit higher in there, trying to go, wherever. And that was just the the lack of knowledge that I had at that time frame
Right.
of where to go, what I could do, or the fact that you can go to school like that, ball out, and still get the attention if you're good enough.
And
You
that
know
shows you that these schools give a shit about you, not just as an asset to the school.
exactly, and that's the difference, man. I was so naive, and I didn't have that person in my ear telling me like, yeah, 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 check that out. Go there because if you want, you can transfer, or you can just ball it out the whole time, or look at this list of people that we just talked about who came from these schools. So it's not like it's a school that don't nobody know about. You know what I'm saying? Maybe
School
don't get as much
everybody know
coverage,
about.
but everybody know about it, right? And them jerseys was sick.
Man,
It's just some.
they still
It's just some
the
about. It's
uniforms.
some, bruh. It's something about a black jersey. I don't know what it is, man. Like a black out jersey. It just.
No,
Oh man.
no.
Like prime example
Rephrase
for
that.
you.
Rephrase that. It's something about a Grambling jersey.
Well, that too. That
Cause
too.
them uniforms they come out with be sick, especially in the Bayou Classic, bro.
Yeah, that's true too. And the only reason why I mentioned all black like that is because I remember the jersey from I want to say three. No, no, no. Sorry, further back than that. 5 or 6 seasons ago, Oregon, the all black they had with the
Oh
feathers
man.
peeling on the side and on the shoulder pads right here and that gray trim,
But you
bro.
gotta
It was like
understand. It's
I
not
just like the way
fair.
I look in the black.
I get it. I get it. We all do. But you gotta understand on that one, it's not fair because who knew or who the hell was gonna know the guy that owns Nike went to Stanford and fucking Oregon, so they get to pick
Yeah,
and choose out of
that's
every
true.
fucking body. They get first dibs on everything slick. Like who knew that?
Life, lifetime too. Lifetime.
Right, right.
Crazy. Ain't even right. And they got how many combinations? 100 and no 200 something
No,
ridiculous.
when they first started doing that, that was the Joey Harrington area with them ugly ass yellow, green, and
Oh
black
yeah,
jerseys. The
hey
cover of
man.
NCAA 03 for those who wondering. And here's a side note that I found out when that happened. Uh, they did a ESPN did a documentary on them when they first started getting these uniforms. Because
Hmm.
remember, they were still stuck in the green and the green and gold with the big O on the side.
Yeah, I had those.
So
Ugh.
when the documentary came out, they were up to like 50 different sets of uniforms at that time. So this came out
Mhm.
like 2 years after the fact. Did you know, Oregon's equipment team was spraying rainproof chemicals on the uniforms. I found that
Terrible.
out was, bro. I was so pissed off because I'm sitting up here yelling at the screen like, "There's no get a rainproof chemical. Everybody that's coming in got to get rained on. How fucking fair is that?"
Man,
And it was perfect. And
terrible.
it was perfectly legal. It was perfectly legal. It was perfectly legal. I couldn't understand it. But this
Yeah.
is the advantage that D1 kids get in those Power Five conferences that HBCUs don't get, and they don't realize that that's about to change.
Mm-hmm.
Grambling and
Absolutely.
Southern in the next 2 years, Grambling and Southern will be going to LSU for the first time in team history. All these
I'm
schools in
looking forward to that.
Louisiana done played each, all these schools in Louisiana done played each other. The LSU didn't want no smoke back in the day.
None.
None.
Wasn't even checking for them cats, man. They was like, nah, we all right. We all right. You
Tu-
know.
Tulane playing in the Superdome every other weekend. LSU playing at Death Valley, which is a great place to be. I've never been, but I've seen it on TV. Great place. It looks
Mm-hmm.
like. My goal for this show is for us to do one at the Bayou Classic someday. Just throwing
Man,
that
that would
out
be
there.
awesome for
So,
sure.
like, just think about what all the rivalries in HBCU that don't get talked about outside of the Bayou Classic, the Magic City Classic between Alabama State and Alabama A&M. Uh, I think it's the Circle City Classic or something like that. Uh, we used to have the Ohio Classic, man. The Ohio
Yeah,
Classic
man.
used to bang.
Got to keep the stuff going, man.
I know. And we got to push for that. We got to push for that. I want the Ohio Classic to come back, and I want it to come back to Cleveland. Don't take it to Cincinnati. Nobody cares about Cincinnati. Bring it back to Cleveland. Bring it back to Cleveland.
For sure.
Because if you like, folks, if you knew how many HBCU graduates are in the city of Cleveland alone, it blow your mind. It blow your mind.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna follow up on that. All right, moving on. NFL. It has been announced over the last couple of weeks that the draft will be coming to Cleveland at the end of the month. The stage is already being built. Um, Teams and players are going to be making their way here shortly. Trevor Lawrence, who is projected to go number one to the Jets or the Jags, is staying home, but Justin Fields and company are slated to possibly be in attendance. But my thing is this: where do you think this goes as far as you know uh, future draft spots go, as far as where places to hold the draft? Because honestly, I think holding it in Cleveland was big. We needed this,
Mm-hmm.
especially during COVID. We needed this,
Right.
and I part of me is saying do more of this. The other part of me is saying keep it in New York. But personally, and I'm not being biased with this, I just think this works better for the league.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I say keep it in three places: New York, maybe LA, maybe if you want to go out that far, and Canton.
Ken would be huge. That makes. I mean, the Hall of Fame is there. That makes perfect sense.
You
You
would think that,
literally
but
host a game there every year for preseason, and it's like expand upon that. You know what I'm saying?
oh,
Like,
since you said expand upon it, I'm gonna expand upon it since we can't get Roger Goodell to answer none of our emails. It only makes sense. And
hmm
I'm gonna break this down historically, and I know
do it.
people are gonna disagree with this, but this is the God honest truth. New York, New Jersey area may have invented football, and for those that don't know, the University of Rutgers, yes, the same Rutgers that Ohio State beats on every year, invented the sport of football. Ohio perfected it, meaning every ounce of NFL history or pro football history you have seen, read about, or been told about has an Ohio link to it. The Akron Bulldogs, the Canton Bulldogs, the Massillon Tigers, the Oorang Indians, the Cleveland, St. Louis, LA Rams, the Cleveland Browns, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New England Patriots. Everybody on that list has a Ohio link. The Pro Football Hall of Fame was in Canton. The NFL itself started in Ohio. That's in the Hall of Fame. I can't make that up. If you go to the Hall of Fame, they have that. Why not put it there? And why not make it permanent? Why not do something for the city that you have hosting your annual preseason kickoff game every year? Tom Benson donated billions of dollars before he died. All he asked y'all to do was name the stadium after him. I have no problem with that. He's been donating. Tom Benson, rest his soul. He's been a man of faith. He's been donating to the Hall of Fame for years. No problem with that. All he asked you to do was name the stadium after him. They're building hotels. They're building that whole area up. The stadium don't even look recognizable no more. When we was kids, Fawcett Stadium was what held the pro football game. That was the original name. That was the name we grew up with. Fawcett Stadium. Now it's Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. That stadium was a carpet, and 3 teams played there. Walsh, Malone, and the Canton McKinley Bulldogs high school team. Now you have the NFL hosting their preseason kickoff game every year there. The Hall of Fame induction ceremony is bananas. I think if you don't move it to Canton at some point, at least one time, you're going to catch it. You, as Roger Goodell, are going to catch hell. Because how dare you bring the draft to Cleveland, but don't bring it to Canton? And that's going to be the first question out of everybody's mouth. The Hall of Fame's in Canton. The Hall of Fame game's in Canton. Why not bring the draft to Canton?
And the fact that you are willing to get away from a New York or a Chicago, to hold the draft tells you right there that it could be done. And it makes me wonder too, okay, if you're willing to break away from those 2 locations to hold the draft, are you going to then make this like a tour situation where you go, okay, Cleveland's the first stop, and then we'll pick like a different, NFL location and kind of go around the league or something like that? Or are you going to say, okay, we have certain markets that we're going to target. Some may be bigger than others, but we do have some that are hot right now. It's going to have a big draw. Even right now, it's hot. It's not big, but it's hot.
And I get what you're saying with that, and that makes perfect sense.
So how does that work? I'm wondering that too.
But at the same time, who gives a shit? And I'm not saying that to be funny or take away from what you said, but as a fan, as a football fan, I've been to the Hall of Fame on numerous occasions. I've got tickets. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to go, but I got tickets to the Hall of Fame game twice. There is no flipping reason why the draft should not be in Canton one time, if not permanently. Do you realize what you could do for a city like Canton? And Canton ain't a bad city. I know people look at Canton like, people from here rather. It's Canton. No, Canton ain't a bad city. Canton is a big sports town. Big sports town. But imagine the influence you could have on potential college players to see the NFL draft every year in Canton. Just think about that. Think about the money people would pay to come not only to the draft, but to the Hall of Fame as well, for those who have never been or for those who have been, but it's part of the package to get a ticket to the draft. Think about the marketing. All right, We got the draft. Got the draft coming in April. High school season coming right around the corner. But before that, we're gonna have a Hall of Fame game. That is a big lead up. It's a
Hmm.
big lead up. That would be so crazy.
A lot of good business, man, out of that.
Really a lot of
You
good
know.
business. A whole lot of business. Not just for the city, but for the league.
Hmm. And who's to say they might have to expand the Hall of Fame a little bit?
They've been doing that for years.
You know.
Little by little, little by little. But even with the expansion, because these hotels are going to be built, they're building on another wing of it slowly but
Hmm.
surely. But think about how much more production you would have to give out to expand that Hall of Fame if the draft is there and now you got players, fans, you know, college teams or whatever seeing this. You got to, if you go down 77, you drive past the Hall of Fame. You drive
True.
past Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. You drive past both because they're literally connected. The Hall of Fame induction ceremony is in the stadium and you sell out every year. So think about how much more of an influence you could have in the city of Canton. Canton refuses to let go of the Hall of Fame game. Not that you could put it anywhere else and actually make it work anyway, but
Hmm.
still, Canton refuses to let go of that. Now think about if you brought the draft there. Now you got two back-to-back events months apart. Draft at the end of April/May. August is right around the corner. Hall of Fame game.
Man,
Double whammy. Double whammy.
no, I feel you on that, man. And speaking of which, it took me back to when I last went because I went there back in 2012, and I was interning at Lincoln West, and that's when I had ran into Coach Simeone because he was the athletic director there at the time,
I remember
and
that.
he's a huge Steelers fan. So we went, and I
That
had
I
the
did not
chance
know.
to. Yeah, man, he hard core, like hard. I was like, wow, I had never knew that. All the years I played under, I never knew that, right? So with him, he took us there, and it was a good free trip to have. And he took the players from the team and all of that, and we had the pleasure of going the day that John Stallworth was there, so I had a
Oh
chance to
man,
meet him too. And that dude was cool. First of all, that's a cool guy. John Stallworth was a dude, and
it hurt my
and we
feelings.
think
It
like,
hurt my
okay,
feelings.
hey, it was crazy because I'm that fool in there with a Browns jersey on, looking crazy. Me and like three other people that went, and everybody else is black and gold out. And it was just so funny because he cut eyes at me or whatever.
Oh, you knew
And
that was coming.
I had a question or two, and it's funny because the thing is, he would say after the questions I had, he's like, do not ask me about any more interactions I've had with the Browns on the field. He's like, and that's when he went to his little spiel. He was like, look, you don't understand because he's like, you're not old enough to understand what those games were like to be in that atmosphere and those hits and what that
Mm.
rivalry really was like. He said, you have no idea. You are not old enough and you will not find the footage that I can probably tell you about. This man
Of
laid it on me.
course not.
He was like, I detested playing them. And that was the hardest games I have ever played in my life was against that team. That's what he told
Yeah,
me.
because
I was
how
like,
could they
man,
not be?
he
How could
said it
they
was a
not
different
be?
era. And he said, I
Very
get it.
different.
And he said, I get it. We got our titles back then, whatever. But at the same time, that was always the one team that was
You
on
did
the
not
verge
want
of
to see.
either knocking us out of the playoff race or you would not want to play against, especially at Muni Stadium.
Man,
And to hear that come out of his mouth, I was like,
you knew
wow, okay.
you knew it was
At that
real.
point, I
That's
just sat
why.
back. I said, I ain't saying nothing else. I'm just here for a visit. I'm just in my
That's
little
why I
corner,
love
like,
this. But see,
you
that's why
know,
I love that rivalry so much. That's why I say that's the best rivalry in football. You get
man,
so many events, stories, memories just off the Browns and Steelers. You don't get shit like that with the Cowboys and Giants. You don't get
no,
shit like
nobody
that
talking
with the
about
with
them.
You don't get shit like that with the Rams and the Seahawks. Come on, man.
No, absolutely not.
Seahawks ain't even been in the NFC before a cup of tea.
Exactly. Exactly, man. And it's so deep rooted. It was just awesome to like get that feel, because at first he was like, okay, I'm gonna talk stuff now because now y'all ain't that great. And it was so great to talk to him. He's like, y'all ain't that great now, so I can say what I want to say. I don't care, you know. But back then, he's like,
It was him.
oh
It was
man.
him.
He said that was the game. That was the game of the year, man. That was the game.
Of course.
So it's cool to hear that, man. So, shout out to him, John Stallworth, man, still kicking around, great dude, and played for a great franchise. It's just cool to be able to, say that and to be able to meet somebody like that. Because for me, I'm hoping
Right.
that one day in the future I can meet, another great like, Polomalu or someone like that. There's guys out
Oh
there
man.
who like regardless of the teams that you play for, you gotta respect them. You gotta
Man, what?
respect them. They put their name on it, man. He's one of the all time greats. Like they put their name on the league and the teams that they play for. Regardless of how you feel or who you support, them dudes changed the game. You know?
Right. Right.
Can't say nothing bad about them cats, man. I don't care who they play.
All right. Yeah, that's true. All right. We're gonna catch up in some other things that happen. NCAA hoops. We're gonna backtrack a
Oh,
little bit.
okay.
Fucking Gonzaga, man. Fucking Gonzaga. Fucking Gonzaga. I don't care if the FCC finds me 100 something dollars. I don't even give a shit right now. Fucking Gonzaga screws the pooch and loses to Baylor in the final game of the season. You go
Man.
30-0, 30-0, and you blow it at the championship. How?
You had,
What? You know what?
you
I
had
didn't want to know
one
how.
game. You had one game. One
And
game.
you know what's crazy? Out of everything, this was the only part of my bracket that wasn't busted. Ohio State
Mm.
busted, Duke busted, or Carolina busted, Florida State busted, Michigan busted,
Man.
UCLA busted. I had
Crazy,
one
man.
team. I had one team left, one team, and it wasn't Baylor. I didn't even know Baylor was good at basketball.
Me neither. And you know what's else crazy? I can't remember the last time we got a chance to see two number ones in the
Yes, that's
championship.
true. That's true.
You
That is true.
know?
I
Because
will give Baylor that because I did not know Baylor was number one until that game. I didn't know they
yeah,
were number
man,
one
like
seed.
but
But
no one picks two number ones. You just don't do
nobody
that.
did.
That's
Nobody
not a
did.
March Madness thing, you know?
Because the last time I did that, I lost all my number ones in the Sweet 16.
Same here. But never
So
again.
yeah, exactly. But fucking Gonzaga, man. Fucking Gonzaga. Fuck them. Fuck them.
I
They
mean,
had
they
one
lost
game.
to and seeing this picture, oh man, I wish I could show you this picture of them celebrate.
Man, shut up.
There's a guy with a really hardcore mullet. I mean, this cat is looking like Rick Smits. Whereas number 13, if you can find that dude, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. He wore number 13 on Baylor this year. Got
I
the
keep an eye.
hardcore mullet. I'm
I
about
keep
to
an eye
find
on
it.
that.
Oh man, you're gonna laugh at this.
Actually,
But what?
wait, hold up. Speaking of since we still on NCAA,
Uh huh.
there was a tweet that went out the other day, and I'm gonna go back to this, but the Jackson State Alabama A&M game, a player scores a touchdown on 43-yard pass. Yeah, it was a 43-yard pass, and they got a glimpse of him, and this
Hmm.
was his touchdown celebration on the sideline.
Oh, I swear, man.
I
That's
can't
awesome.
make that up. This
That
has
is
gone
awesome.
viral.
Got the
That's
belt and
gone
everything.
viral. Yes,
That is
that's gone
awesome.
viral on it's gone viral on every source of social media. I'm pretty sure it'll be on ESPN tomorrow, but I can't even be mad at that, man.
Oh
I
man,
can't.
that is awesome.
I
That
can't.
is great. That is great.
That
You got
that's so that was
that's what's up.
so I can't even say that's a slap in the face to Dion because Dion would probably do pull some shit like that if he was still playing.
That is so awesome, man. I love that. I love that. That's
Of course he
great.
would. Of course he
Especially
would.
this weekend. Especially
Well,
this weekend.
well, with the game that he had and the game that the team had, how could you hate that?
You can't.
They they beat Coach Prime. They went into Coach Prime's house in Jackson, Mississippi, and beat Coach Prime. How can you be mad at that?
Can't even do it. That's awesome though, man.
Ah. All right, we got one more quick topic, and we're probably gonna close it out for the night because I still got to finish watching WrestleMania.
Oh yeah.
uh, baseball, the Tribe sweep the Tigers. They win the last one 5-2 today. Won 11-3, I believe, the other night. They are now currently 5-3 on the season so far. With what's going on between COVID and the divisional race, the only question I have to you, because this question and this topic is strictly about the Indians. We'll talk about baseball another time.
hmm
But do you think, with all the cuts, trades, and just complete gutting of the team that has been done, the impending name change is coming. We're not even going to talk
hmm
about that because that'll be another topic for another day. But with the current team that they have right now and the sweeping of the Tigers, who are picked with Minnesota to win the division, because it's
hmm
between them two, do you think the Indians have enough to keep pace and possibly steal the division from the Twins and the Tigers?
Ooh, that is a hard. Ooh, man. I don't know about this season, man. I'm kind of like on the fence about that, only because beforehand we saw that they loaded it up defensively, right? Previous season to the point where we're talking about like Puig not being there anymore and
Man, that
other
hurt.
guys they're trying to hold on to, and we saw that as the season went on. They got a little momentum, but it was always these low scoring games. Like, okay, I get it. You're a baseball team, and it's great to be able to hold another professional baseball team to 1 or 2 runs a game. That's
Right.
awesome. You want that actually, but who's swinging? Where the
That's true.
bats? Who got the
That's true.
offense? Because I don't know where it's at. Who's your main guy? Santana?
That,
Like, what that look like? You know what I'm saying? Like, look, bro, I don't know, man. I don't see it. I don't see it right now because losing these players they lost in the off season and trying to rebuild again and taking on these farm projects that they always do, stuff like that. I would say, yeah, in a couple seasons, probably, you know, but they front loaded so much and put so much into the pitching that the pitching is there, but the bats, man, like who are the people that are gonna like take it to the next level, man, with the bats though? That's where I'm
well,
lost at.
right now, Ramirez is leading the team with I think like 5 home runs, I believe.
hmm
So there's one. Uh, you're right. They did load up on defense because in the Central, I'm not going to talk about no other team, no other division. In the
hmm
Central, you need defense because the Twins have hitting and defense. The White Sox hitting and defense, even though they come off as they stink. The Royals the same way. The Tigers, if they don't have defense, they got hit. They usually keep one of the two.
That's
So
true.
I feel like if they can keep pace, at least until the All Star break, so we see what they look like, because then it'll be enough game. It'll be 60 games in. All Star break is the halfway point. So if they keep pace, or if they're at least in third place by the time the All Star break happens, I think they got a chance. They probably might not win it, but I do think they'll have a chance.
And this is where I stand with that because I totally agree with you, and I feel like it's going to take a few guys to just step up, man, and own that. So
Right.
you got some players who have been veterans for a little bit, like let's say, Cesar Hernandez. Maybe he does something different this year. You got a guy like Jake Bowers. Maybe he does something this year. It's just like these players because the Indians are relatively a young team.
Very
Because with all
much.
those moves they did, I mean, you figure right now their oldest player, well, he's a relief pitcher, Oliver Perez, he's like 39, but we don't really see him that often. But as far as active players that are playing like every single game, your oldest players are going to be Cesar Hernandez is 30 years old, Roberto Perez, one of the catchers, is 32. And outside of
That's
that,
young.
everybody else is like mid
That's still
20s.
young. Yeah, but
You know what I'm saying?
Even with Perez and the other guy, they're still young.
Hmm.
In
Yep.
baseball, you could be 30 in baseball and still be young. You can't be 30 in
Right.
football and still be young.
No, that's
It's
true.
just not gonna work. It's
That's
just
true.
not gonna work.
And just seeing
Uh
their pitching staff is like super young, man. Like you figure Logan Allen, Shane Bieber, right?
Tristan Smith.
And then Tristan Smith. You got McKenzie out there. You got Aaron Savale. I mean, these guys are all 23, 25. These guys are gonna be around for a long time. Is what I'm trying to say. So we can see the uptick there, right? But as far as those bats, it's like those few names that we talked about, where it's like, look, this is
That
your
ain't
opportunity.
but
This is your
and
opportunity.
you're right.
So,
And the thing that scares me about our bats
mhm.
is the fact that they're not consistent.
Nope,
And that
nope,
and that's why I said let's just wait until the All-Star break to see what we have because that's the only way we're going to see what we have. There's 60 games in, and
hmm
are they in second? Are they in third? Are they dead last? We won't know until second half of the season.
that's
So
exactly it.
I'm I want to see what they look like at the All-Star break. So I'm gonna wait until the All-Star break to before I make my final judgment.
I'm right there with you, man. You know, and there's just a couple people I've been looking at, like, let's see what they do, man. Because guys like him, and I want to see something out of Jordan Luplow.
Man,
You know what I'm saying? Like, come this your season. Like, I feel like if
I,
he don't do something this year, he gonna be dealt.
you're right because
He
I'm
gonna
about
be
ready to
dealt,
get rid of him. You're right because I'm about
bruh.
ready to get rid
Like,
of him. Get him out of here.
he got to
Get
do
him out of
something.
here.
I'm sorry. Like, that's why it hit me like that. Look at some of these names on the roster. I'm like, oh, you've been around for a few years now. You need to do something. It's time.
Right.
You can't chill no
Damn
more. You're gonna
time.
be
Damn
shoot. They're
time.
gonna
You
bring
need to show me some production, man. Don't just take the money.
right. They're gonna call somebody else up. You better, man, stop fooling. Just saying,
Right.
because that's one thing
We'll
Cleveland
see.
will do. They'll
They'll
build
get
some
rid of you.
people up, but they'll get rid of you if you ain't doing what you're supposed to do. That's one thing I do like. So you need to make
Yeah.
it happen this year, man. That's a guy you
We'll
should
see.
stare at this year. Seriously.
Now that you said that, I am. I am. Not just because you
Mhm.
said that.
Man.
All right, folks, that will do it for this episode of 4th and 15. We apologize to our people who were hoping to see Coach Rod Williams on. We will try to get him back at another day. But on the flip side of that, next weekend, we will have former Ohio State quarterback and Ohio State great Stanley Jackson back to talk with us about the status of the Big Ten and the status of Ohio State. So you do not want to miss that one. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got some really big things coming for us and for you guys, but I am legally not allowed to say anything until everything is finalized. So
Mm.
just stick with us and keep watching. Thank you for the support. Stanley Jackson will be on next week.
Oh
And
yeah.
for fourth and 15, I'm Mel. That's Smooth. Peace.
Peace.